On December 2nd, 2020, on a cold winter day in Moscow, the capital as usual, the internet witnessed the scariest day in the world of live streaming. A girl who thought she had found love in her boyfriend, the streamer Stars Rayleigh. But little did she know that for Stars, the hunger for money and online fame was far greater than his love for her. And for just $1,000, Valya had to lose her life. That too, live on camera in front of the whole world. What kind of dark side of the internet gave birth to such trash streaming, where pain and humiliation become the show? And how did this tragic incident force Russia to ask new questions about its digital future? Hello, I am Salo, and you are watching. If you like to know the real stories of crime and the hidden truths behind them, then subscribe to this channel. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and be sure to share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. Your support helps this channel grow a lot. Now let's move forward with the story. Moscow, the capital of Russia, is a city that is always busy, with a population in the millions and constant crowds. But what's surprising is that the crime rate here is very low. There are more than 170,000 surveillance cameras installed in this city. These cameras are present in every street, every apartment, and every public place. And the facial recognition systems installed in them can identify anyone's face, age, gender, and identity in an instant. But no matter how strict the security is, the reality is that the most dangerous crimes often happen in places where cameras cannot reach. That is, inside our own homes. In the northern part of Moscow, in an ordinary apartment complex, lived a couple, 30-year-old Stanislav Tanya and his girlfriend, 28-year-old Valentina Grigorieva, whom people affectionately called Valya. Not much information ever came out about this couple, but it is known that Stanislav was raised by his grandmother during his childhood. As a child, he was considered a quiet and somewhat strange boy. He finished school, got admitted to university, but soon dropped out. He didn't have motivation for anything, so eventually he joined the army, where he started working in computer repair. And it was during this time that he met Valya. Valya's story was a bit different. She grew up in a small village outside Moscow, and as a child, people described her as kind and caring. But as she grew older, her interest shifted towards the world of parties and clubbing. To sustain this new lifestyle, she also started working as an escort and began searching for online plans. In 2020, she moved to Moscow, and that same summer, she met Stanislav. Within just a few months, the two grew close and were living together by Christmas. It may sound like a sweet little love story, but the reality was much darker and scarier than that. Valya and Stanislav's lives were now being spent together under one roof in that small rented apartment in Moscow. From the outside, everything seemed normal, but this is where the real story begins, because where did the money to run that household come from? This is directly connected to the most terrifying part of this case, Stanislav, whom the entire world knew on the internet as Stars Rayleigh. The internet gave him that identity. The same internet that gave millions of people new ways to be entertained. Gaming, music, dance, everyone streams something or the other. But the truth is, the world of streaming isn't as innocent as it seems. Earnings in this field depend almost entirely on those viewers who watch live and donate money. And when income depends entirely on donations, sooner or later, every streamer comes under the pressure to do anything to please people. The Star's beginnings were very humble. Around 2010, he started uploading gaming videos. But the truth is, his skills were below average. People like him got into gaming. He couldn't recover, and that's where his real downfall began. Gradually, he realized that the audience enjoyed not his gameplay, but his bizarre antics. So he changed his direction. While others were showcasing better gaming, Stars relied on dangerous challenges and ridiculous ideas to make money. People would donate, and in return, he would do something even more outrageous. In a way, the control of his life had now shifted into the hands of his viewers through these dangerous acts. And this very path led him to a point where, for more money, he did something that would take away the life of an innocent person. Sometimes a person's true nature is revealed when they gain a little bit of power and money. Stars' live streams were hardly ever done alone. He would often invite his friends so they could have light-hearted conversations, drink alcohol, and perform all sorts of antics on camera in exchange for donations from viewers. But the truth was that the real victims of these so-called fun games were often those who could barely defend themselves. The person targeted the most was Valentin. Valentin was not only mentally vulnerable, but also helpless and homeless. He had neither a place to live nor any certainty of food, and on top of that, his addiction to alcohol had made his life even more difficult. This was his biggest weakness, and Stars took advantage of exactly that. In 2020, Valentin appeared repeatedly on Stars' stream. But this was no friendly invitation. In the videos, he was treated in ways that are horrifying even to hear about. He was tied up, forced to eat strange things, and all of this was done just for a few bucks, some money, and alcohol. Valentin would often say that whatever was happening to him on the stream was happening with his consent. But the truth is, when a person is homeless, dependent on others for food, has nowhere to sleep, and is trapped by alcoholism, where does he have the right to say no? He was forced to live. Time and again, in different live streams, Valentin had to endure such horrific situations that anyone's heart would tremble just watching them. Once things went so far that he was buried alive in the dirt on a live stream, and he kept crying and begging them to stop. But the people sitting on the other side of the screen just kept watching. Some were laughing, some were sending donations. A person's suffering had become a spectacle there. After all, who were these people who were enjoying watching all this? In fact, in Russia, there was an entire subculture called trash streaming. Here, the concept is simple. The streamer does whatever their viewers tell them to do, and in return, they get donations. But as simple as this sounds, it's just as dangerous. Because most of the demands are violent, shameful, and inhumane. Stars, who was once just a small-time gaming streamer, gradually, by 2019, he entered the world of trust streaming. His actions became more and more vile and dangerous with each passing day. Eventually, Twitch banned him. Twitch is an online live streaming platform, but Stars didn't stop. He moved straight to YouTube, where the moderation for live streaming wasn't as strict. Because of this, he managed to evade the rules for a long time. By 2020, Stars was making so much money from these streams that he even quit his job as a computer specialist, and that same year, he had a fateful encounter. At first, Walia's arrival seemed innocent. She would appear with the team, laughing and chatting, sometimes hugging or kissing Stars, but the difference was clear. Walia had accepted the relationship, while Stars never saw it that way. He always kept his distance, never gave a clear answer, and deliberately kept the relationship ambiguous. Gradually, the fights between Stars and Walia started increasing. There was always alcohol in her streams, and that was the biggest problem for Walia. When she was sober, she would be completely calm and fine. But as soon as she drank too much, she would start speaking loudly and sometimes even get angry. All this bothered Stars, but even then, he tolerated it. Because the more Walia created a scene while drunk, the more people would come to watch her stream, and the more donations she would. Even though she was his partner, Stars treated her just as badly as he did everyone else. Gradually, she became the target of his audience. Sometimes people would say, make her drink more alcohol, sometimes pour water on her, throw eggs at her, or slap her. Stars would actually do all this on camera. Once he even broke a plate on Walia's head. The most dangerous moment came when, for just $1, someone told him to pepper spray Walia, and without thinking, Stars did it. Walia was screaming loudly. It was clear she was in a lot of pain. One thing was clear from this. There was no limit to the cruelty of Stars and his audience, and for Stars, humanity or relationships no longer held any value. Gradually, it became clear that for money, Stars could do anything to anyone, whether it was his friend, an acquaintance, or even himself. His partner. It didn't matter to Walia how small the donation was, or how big the request was. Sometimes some people from his audience would question his strange and cruel behavior. But on the other hand, there were also people who encouraged him even more so that the spectacle would continue. Stars would often brush off all these things with a laugh. From his way of speaking, actions, and body language, it was clear that he didn't care about anyone. And even more dangerous than bad behavior is something else. When the audience supports him and provokes him to go even further. Stars was ruthless, and his audience, his strength, was questionable. This was about how far Stars was willing to go for money and views. And when he wasn't going to stop himself, what could possibly stop him? Unfortunately, the answer to this was soon to be revealed to all of Russia. On the morning of December 3rd, 2020, the police in a small village near Moscow, Ivanovka, started receiving repeated calls. People were complaining that sounds of domestic violence were coming from an apartment. Soon after, calls started coming in directly to summon an ambulance. One of those calls was made by none other than Stars himself, 30-year-old Stanislav, that is Stars, himself in the morning. When the paramedics arrived that morning, the scene was extremely horrifying. Behind the snow-covered red building, Stars was standing there looking terrified. He was completely intoxicated. Inside, she was lying on the sofa. Valia was completely unconscious, her body ice cold. The paramedics tried to revive her, but by then it was already too late. They declared Valia dead at the scene. The staff, who was completely drunk and seemed broken, kept asking the same question over and over. "Are you absolutely sure she's dead?" It was as if he just couldn't believe that Valia was really gone. At that moment, one of the paramedics replied in a slightly Russian accent, "No, now she'll get up and start dancing." The scariest part was that this entire scene was being live-streamed. Yes, the whole world was watching all of this at that moment. The paramedics had absolutely no idea that the camera was on, but the staff's audience was seeing everything. And in fact, most of the emergency calls made to the police and ambulance that day weren't made by Star, but by his panicked viewers. They felt that this time Star had crossed the line. So what exactly happened? What was the reason that led to this terrifying night? The story begins one day earlier, on the night of December 2nd. At first, everything seemed normal. Just like always, Star's Valia and his friend Marina were sitting in front of the PC. They were having some drinks and chatting. It was their daily habit to sit in front of the camera and do everything live. But as the night went on, the atmosphere started to change. Walia's anger and restlessness were clearly visible. The cracks in her and Star's relationship were now out in the open on camera. Walia wanted Stars to have a true relationship with her, but Stars didn't care about it at all. And when Marina was sitting with them too, a woman with whom Stars would joke around and behave in a friendly way, which only made Walia's jealousy and anger grow even more. Then came the moment when everything started to fall apart. Right on the live stream, Walia and the staff got into a fight. Stars taunted her for not bringing enough alcohol for 3 people. And the solution was that she had to go out again and buy more alcohol. She had to. As soon as Walia went outside, everything became even clearer on camera. Stars and Marina sat close together.